Welcome to Shadow Talkers, where we explore the shadows of the known world and beyond. I am YoKDog.
And I'm RulyWolf.
If you go to Google Earth and look around the globe, it's super cool. The technology we have to see the Earth and everything going on with the Earth is amazing. But try to go to the South Pole or the Antarctic. When you get there, you see this massive continent that has basically been whited out. The question for many conspiracy theorists or just the regular person is why can't I see what's happening in the South Pole or the Antarctic? And that's the topic today, because there's many theories, conspiracy, not so conspiracy, as to why we don't know what's happening in the South Pole. RulyWolf, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. How are you? You okay, dog?
Just peachy, like a Georgia peach. Okay, kind of corny. Yeah, okay.
Alrighty then.
Oh, alrighty then. By the way, go to YouTube and look up Carrie Family Reunion from Saturday Night Live. Very, very funny. So,
All right.
with that, so here we are today talking about the South Pole. Why would we talk about the South Pole? Well, if you go online and research into the shadows, what people are talking about and what supposedly is happening is that many people, many theorists are saying that there's a conspiracy going on down there, in the sense of things are being hidden from everybody else. And if you, like I said, if you go to Google Earth, they've whited out the South Pole, which is a very large continent. Some people believe it's the ancient Atlantis, that it really didn't sink, but that the poles shifted on the Earth and created Arctic conditions there. Other people are saying that the Nazis built a secret base there, and other governments of the world have access to it. And so on and so forth. There's so much about the South Pole. We're just getting into it tonight.
Right, we'll only be scratching on the surface because we don't want to get boring for you guys, so we want to keep this somewhat short so that we don't bore you. But as YoKDog was saying, it's a huge area, and on top of the fact that you go to look and you can't see it, it's kind of whited out. Aside from the fact that there's lots of snow there, because we do know that there is a solar minimum right now, and so things are melting in Antarctica. So it shouldn't all be snowy.
True.
So that's my opinion on being able to see it. If you should, to me, it shouldn't all be completely white, because it's not all going to be snow, because things are melting up there. You hear the term global warming thrown around a lot, and polar ice caps melting, blah blah blah. So it shouldn't all be white up there, in my opinion. But if you go and look, it is mostly, I'd say 99% of it. 99.99% of it is all white. Antarctica is huge. It's the 5th largest continent on the Earth, which means, and it's also one of the harshest climates. Excuse me. So exploring it is really difficult. You would have to have a lot of money and time to say, hey, I'm going to go explore Antarctica, and you still have to run the very dangerous risk of freezing to death, being eaten by something, not finding very much, because it's just huge, and that's kind of hard to say. I'm going to explore here because you might explore right here and there might be nothing, you know, but 5 miles up the road there is something, but you can't make it up there for whatever reasons.
Well, you know, you brought that up, like going exploring and stuff like that. Supposedly, air restriction around the North Pole and the South Pole is restricted, that you cannot fly over either poles of the Earth. And conspiracy theorists say it's because they're hiding something. And RulyWolf, we were talking earlier, and you made a good point. Like, what if it's because maybe there's a magnetic thing going on and it messes up the transponders on a plane or something like that, which is a great point. So the thing is why can't you fly over the North Pole? Why can't you fly over the South Pole? And why is the South Pole whited out on Google Earth? So are they hiding something? Or is it just a stupid coincidence and there's nothing to see?
And that's hard to say. Somewhat recently, they found an approximately 400-foot wide object underneath Antarctica. Have you heard about this, YoKDog?
No.
Okay, so apparently they have found this object under there, and they don't know what it is. There are theories going around, of course, as to what it is. The idea that it could have been caused by the wind blowing the snow, which makes kind of like sand dunes, except they're snow. But you know how if you look at the desert, you've got the sand dunes and the patterns in the snow from the wind blowing it. The same thing happens in Antarctica with the snow. But according to some experts, it couldn't be that because it doesn't have that same pattern. Honestly, to me, if you have seen the movie The Thing, when they're there looking at the spaceship under the ground, it kind of sort of looks like that. It's not quite symmetrical, but it looks really odd to me. And I'm not saying it couldn't be a natural occurrence, but it still looks kind of odd, and to me it screams spaceship.
Oh, hang on. So are you talking about the one where it looks like it came from the side of the mountain and it plowed through the snow?
No, this is a different one. It's something that is being uncovered because of the melting, the ice and snow melting.
First of all, I love the movie The Thing with Kurt Russell.
Same here.
That is an incredible movie. If you have not seen it, you need to watch it because it's just that good. And it is, the whole theory is that there's something hidden under the ice in Antarctica. So that would fit with this show perfectly and with what people are speculating about. And that's the whole thing. People think that something has been found in the Antarctic. And the reason why I want to say that is that many leaders of the world in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years have gone down there to see what's there. That means like even the President of the United States, Obama, and John Kerry went down there. It's like, why would they go down there? And then Vladimir Putin has been down there. South Korea, China, and India are building structures down there. It's like, what is all this weird stuff going on? Who cares about Antarctica unless something is there? So there's a lot of activity, a lot of world leaders going out there. I heard that the right-hand man to the Pope went down there. It's like, why? Why would you go to a frozen, ice-capped continent unless something is there? And shouldn't we all know about it? Just saying.
Right. And there have been explorations of Antarctica for a long time. The Nazis actually made a trip down there in 1938. December 1938, they left Hamburg to go down there. And they actually went down there to look for whale blubber, whale oil, because they were burning through some of their resources, and so they were trying to find another resource. And so they went down there from 1938, and then they left in 1939 to come back to Germany. And I think it's kind of interesting. They had sent out some planes to kind of scout out the area, and they had mechanical issues and had to throw things off of the plane to help lighten the load. And one of the things was a box of tiny metal swastikas, and they never found them. So it makes me wonder how... It just kind of goes back to that, how many things are out there that are hidden. If they lost, and granted, there's a chance that, you know, they got buried deep in the snow or something, but you would think that they would know kind of their radius and have an idea of where they were dropped and be able to find them, and the other things that they had to throw off their planes. But it just kind of goes back to the, you know, what could be there that, you know, we don't know about. You know, let's say 2,000 years ago there was an explorer, you know, who went out there and dropped something, and it's still there. Like, you just don't know.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff there that they're digging up that, you know, goes back to ancient times, because one of the other theories is that the poles, like at one point Antarctica may have been Atlantis, and that it was a very flourishing civilization, and then the poles flipped. And when the poles flipped, and the magnetic poles, they created a whole different climate and froze the continent. You know, if you go back to Atlantis sinking in the ocean, you know, Plato said that. It's like, well, maybe it didn't sink in the ocean, maybe it just got frozen over. And so nobody's there anymore. And if it's a pole shift, it happened quickly enough that I'm sure many people died. The civilization itself was lost. But now, with our technology and engineering, we're going down to the South Pole and finding out, holy cow, there's a whole nother civilization under the ice. Or UFOs.
Well, you know, people say that they think that the pyramids were made by Egyptians, and they have been finding more and more pyramid structures in the world as technology has increased, and there are rumors floating around out there that there may be a pyramid-like structure in Antarctica, which would go with that, as well as in 17... Ooh, I can't read my own writing here. A bunch of scribbles. All right, so in 1773, James Cook is said to have discovered Antarctica. However, in 1929, in Turkey, they discovered a map which was drawn and signed in 1513 by Piri Reis, who was a admiral and cartographer for the Ottoman Empire, which is a Turkish empire, which shows that Antarctica was in fact not full of snow and ice and had structures and possibly civilizations. So possibly, what is that? More than a couple hundred years ago, there could have been, as YoKDog, as you were saying, kind of an Atlantis-like place that was completely sustainable. Because Antarctica is not a sustainable place to live currently.
Right, exactly. But you got to remember, the Earth is always fluid. It's always changing, and in our time frame of, let's say you live to be 80 years old, that's 70, 80 average lifespan, I would say. So things change, and if you look at that, so going back to the 1500s, that's a long time ago. So yeah, it could totally be that the North Pole had no ice because the poles hadn't flipped. And how would they record the fact that, okay, the poles flipped and so now we're in a different climate? Does that make sense? I mean, it's like, that would just be like, oh, hey, we found this place and there's no ice and there's people living here.
Exactly. And if those were not necessarily like civilizations that had boats per se, and kind of happened like the kind of dinosaur-esque meteorite hits Earth, dinosaurs are wiped out, they can't go anywhere. If the poles shifted and there was such an extreme climate change, could it be that they were just kind of wiped out because they had no way to leave? Or even just being that, yeah, they had a way to leave, but, they only got so far, or the climate changed so quickly that they started to leave and then weren't able to, and that's why there's no history on it. I mean, there have been cases of dead civilizations found in places where they necessarily might not have even have become a dead civilization, if that makes sense. So even if they...
Yes, it does.
Yeah, so it's just very interesting.
But totally. And if you go back to, one of the other theories is what dinosaurs is that it's the big meteor came in, hit the Earth, and just wrecked everything. The other theory is that there was a massive pole shift, which, if you're living in tropical island and you're sitting there on the beach in your bikini, and then the poles shift like suddenly, because technically they can, and then all of a sudden you're frozen to death because you have no clothes and you're I know it's silly, but hey, you get what I'm saying?
Here's YoKDog terrifying
now,
everybody from their beach vacations this summer.
Right? No, here's my thought. I'm on the beach in my Speedo, which is not a pretty picture, and then all of a sudden the poles flip, and I'm frozen, and somebody digs me up later going, oh my God, what did that civilization do? This is horrible. That's my fear.
Well, yeah, and, they didn't have the tech, I would assume, because we don't know, but I would assume that they wouldn't have had the technology then to be able to predict the shifting of the poles. I mean, as it is, our technology and our current information that we have now as far as weather patterns and all of that is very limited. So we can only go so far back and say, yes, this happens, this happens. We can only guess and go based off of what has happened. And again, that's just a very short little blip on the history of the planet. So who's to say that they had that information or technology, or maybe, they were as advanced as we are, but completely got wiped out because, again, their information only went back so far and they were only guesstimating, and, they guessed, they'd be fine for another 100 years, but like that, they weren't.
Right. I mean, like right now, January 27th, 2019, we think we're smart, but we don't know everything, and we can all predict and claim we know what's going on, but we don't. Nature is nature, and nature will come back, and nature will bite you if you're not ready for it. And that's it.
Maybe we should be doing more exploring in Antarctica and find out what we can find out from that. Find out. My alien planet language is taking over. Okay.
No, I am an alien implanted person. Okay, not you.
Our secret. It's out. We're busted.
Okay, no, help me. No. Okay, really, do not come do a physical on me. I'm just faking it. Let's pretend. So here's some weird things. Like, let's go back to the whole Antarctic thing. So, in 1946/47, the U.S. Navy sent out an Antarctica expedition for scientific expedition purposes, and they went out with Admiral Byrd to, go explore the Antarctic. First of all, during that time frame, Um, you don't send out the Navy to explore what might be in the Antarctic. That's ridiculous. So let's put it in perspective. If you're going to use government money and government, the Navy, if you're going to send the Navy out there, give me a break. Don't lie to me. You went for other purposes, and everybody knows it, but that's how it was sent out. So you're sending a naval fleet to the Antarctic just for exploration purposes is ridiculous. Anyhow, while they were there, Admiral Byrd was in charge of the fleet, and they were attacked. And according to his testimony, what he wrote, is they were attacked by basically, we're going to call them UFOs. That these ships came up out of the water and attacked the U.S. fleet, which at that time was the strongest naval fleet in the world. So it's like, okay, wait a minute. So you're going to, what, go to Antarctic and see if you can plant corn and grow it? I mean,
they wanted snow cones, duh.
Oh my God, they better have blue raspberry. Just say it. Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. You're right. It's like, what? You're right. So what? They went there and spent all that money to do what? But ultimately, they thought there was a Nazi military base in the Antarctic. Of course, you can never tell the public what's going on, which I agree sometimes, I disagree other times, but nowadays, just admit it. You sent your naval force out there for a reason. You thought there was a threat. And then when you get there and Admiral Byrd is saying we're being attacked by basically UFOs, it's like, what the hell? I mean, what? It's like...
I have a theory for you. The last place Mary Shelley's the last place Frankenstein's monster was seen was in the Arctic Circle, so maybe he figured out something and it's him out there. And
well, there you go, right?
Yeah, so maybe it's Frankenstein's monster out there.
Right. That could be. I mean, I'm just saying, it's like there were many fatalities. It was like an 8-week-long expedition, and it got canceled. And our fleet, when I say our, because I am from the U.S., the U.S. fleet ran away. What the hell? We were now the superpower of the time, and our fleet ran away. That should scare the living bejeebies out of you. I'm just saying.
It would too. I would run away. I wouldn't stick around. That's just me.
No, I know. And by the way, if you want to look it up, when it's Admiral Byrd, it's Admiral B-Y-R-D. And he's also the person who says that the Earth is hollow, because he went back out on another expedition and took the naval fleet and whatever, got to where they were going. Then he took a plane and flew over the Antarctic, the South Pole, and said that as he was flying, it was all ice, and then all of a sudden he said it was tropical. So wait a minute. Okay, so you're flying over ice, and now your blue raspberry snow cone is gone, and you're freaking right over tropical coconut pina coladas? What the hell? I'm just saying, like, and then he said there was a vortex going into the center of the Earth. So this is a whole nother topic that we are not going to go into today, but that brings up the hollow Earth theory. So he claims he saw and flew into the hole going into the south end of the Earth.
Well, it is really an interesting thought, because you have these theories of an opening into the Earth, and it's ironic that there are these theories out there, and the place that it is discussed a lot that it could be, that's whited out on a map, you can't see it, So if there was an opening to the center of the Earth, I mean, we wouldn't know because it's whited out on the map.
Yes. Well, that's again, okay. So I'm going to throw this out there real quick, and we'll probably talk about it later. But, going back to whiting everything out, people with their theories that there's an opening at the North Pole, opening at the South Pole, it's whited out. But yet you see other planets like Saturn visited by both Voyager probes and the Cassini probe, and there appears to be an opening at one of the poles, because they only show one of the poles, and everything's kind of being sucked in, and they claim it's a storm, which whatever, I'm not going to argue that. But again, it comes down to what's going on down there. Why hide it? Just tell you what you found. Give the public some kind of credence that they have some intelligence. Okay, we're not going any farther with that whole thing. So go ahead, RulyWolf.
And something else that I'm kind of curious about personally is why wouldn't we be trying to find out more about Antarctica when we have the capability to send satellites and shuttles and people into space? So why aren't we focusing just as much on things on Earth? Why aren't we sending things, sending rovers out to Antarctica? If a rover can live on Mars, why can't it live on Antarctica, and why can't we put that footage out there for, the world to see?
Very good point. I like that.
So I'm curious as to why that hasn't happened, and I'm curious. I don't have any money or resources to do it myself, or I would. But why hasn't it been done?
Well, right, like with something like we talked about, like with Bigfoot and stuff like that. There's so many areas on Earth alone that we have not explored, but we claim to have explored, but yet there's so much unknown. There's still a lot of open, wide, uninhabited space, and for a reason, because it's uninhabitable for whatever, like for resources like water. If you don't have water, you die, and just other things. So that's a great point. So let's go to so my internet's going so mega slow.
It's because they're watching you. Do 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 do.
Right. And I said this in the last podcast. I have to buy a new computer. If you don't buy one every 3 years, you're up a creek, because, okay, whatever, it just gets...
I will say this, that there are satellites up there that have radars and lasers that probe
lasers?
Antarctica.
Lasers are...
Laser beam.
I want sharks with lasers on their heads. Okay, so go ahead.
Even with that, it's still hard for them to see a lot of Antarctica just because of the amounts of ice and whatnot.
Yes. And there is. But hang on. Let's be honest. I mean, come on. So, like, technology-wise, again, I'm going to name somebody's channel, not to promote them, but, so Secure Team 10, Tyler, just bought a new camera with this lens. I guess is amazing, and they can actually zoom in up to the moon and get very detailed pictures and video, which would be super cool. So I went to buy one myself. Yeah, it was $1,000. No, thank you. I can't even pay my bill. So you know what? I'm out of the picture. The point is, it's awesome he got that. We have technology. Don't me and tell me we can't get good satellite pictures of the South Pole or the North Pole. We can't see it. That's baloney. So, and by the way, I did say a bad word, and I apologize. It's supposed to be kid-friendly-ish show. But the point is, don't tell me you can't see something. Don't tell me there's cloud coverage. Okay, fine. Because if you're in the military, you're going to go back and get those pictures another time. Clouds aren't there all the time. So, I guess, it saddens me to have people try to buffalo you with information that's nonsense. We have so much technology. Just show us what's going on, because nobody's going to get upset. Well, okay, some people might. But overall, would the public be upset? I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
Some people like to live in ignorance.
Okay, what about Buzz?
It's easier.
Go ahead.
It's easier to not know things. It makes life simpler. That's all I'm saying.
Well, on my Instagram, which is not Shadow Talkers, but I do music, and somebody posted on there that they were out, and how sad it was that they were at an airport. Everybody was looking at their phone, and nobody was talking to each other. That their whole life is surrounded by social media, which begs the question of, so does it make it easier to not admit things because people don't want to know, or people don't care? I mean, I don't know. What about you, RulyWolf? Do they care?
I think that's a complicated one. I think it's a little bit of both.
It is. But, whole nother topic. I'm not going to go there. So, how about Buzz Aldrin? Who is Buzz Aldrin?
He went to the moon.
Yeah. And then he went to the Antarctic. And he went to the Antarctic.
Oh, yeah. Wow, my brain did not work that one out very well.
So I thought we talked about...
I thought you said something about perfect.
Well, nobody's perfect.
So, I did not know that he went to the Antarctic.
Oh my gosh, yes he did. Okay, so I talked to somebody else about this, and not you. But here's the deal. He went to the Antarctic recently, and again, I gave you a timeline. And so there is a formation out there. To me, it looks like a mountain range, and it looks like a pyramid. So I'm saying it's just a natural phenomena of a mountain that looks like, but it's in the middle of nowhere, all by itself. It's not in a mountain range, it's just a mountain. And it looks like a pyramid. So being in Colorado, you can see a lot of mountains, and yeah, you just have that symmetry of pyramids, very jagged edges, very kind of sharp kind of angles and stuff. But on the internet, there's a lot of people who are saying it's a pyramid in the Antarctic. My opinion is it's a natural formation. Other people, it's another Egyptian pyramid built for whatever energy type purposes. So, Buzz Aldrin was another big personality, big celebrity who went down to the Antarctic because something's going on down there. Because when you don't go to Minnesota for the cold, you don't go to Canada.
Yeah, you go for the Mall of America.
You don't go to Canada for the cold. Okay, skiing is an exception, but you just don't go down there just to go down there. So he went to the South Pole, and he came back and said, there is something evil down there. And then the whole theory is it had to do with the Pyramid Mountain and something he saw. And you're like, okay. Okay, whatever. Okay, great. You went down there, and then you come back and say, ooh, there is something evil down there. And then he denies it. But he said it. You can't say it and then deny it. And then other people are like, oh, no, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And then, like, everybody tries to cover it up. It's like, stop that. Now you're creating questions in people's minds. And so, on top of that, then he dies, like, weeks later. What the
Really?
What the French toast? You gonna put some syrup and bacon on that? I'm just saying. What the hell? Is there something there? I don't know. Is it life? Life is life. Life ends. It begins. It ends. It begins. It ends. But the thing is, why would Buzz Aldrin, a famous, lovable astronaut who went into space, came back, all these lectures, all these conversations with people, and then says there is something evil down there? What? I'm just saying, what the hell?
Which just goes back to there being the thing under the snow.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh. Yes. I mean, yeah. We have lasers. We can cut it out from the ice. That was funny. Yo. Don't stop. Don't stop talking.
I'm just going to sit here and laugh at you. This is the I Laugh at You podcast.
But you remember the movie, right? It's like they find something, they use a laser, they cut out this huge ship, and then some whack-a-jack crazy-ass alien comes out, like, freak you out, alien. Yeah, no. Just leave it alone. Don't mess with it.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a part of me after, so that was the first movie, one of the very first horror movies I was allowed to watch, which got me into horror, because that's hands down one of the best horror movies ever.
Right? It is.
I really think it is. And based off of that movie, there's a very large part of me that's like, just leave it alone. Just don't go digging. Leave it all alone. You don't want to wake up whatever might be hiding under there.
Well, exactly. How many times you watch movies and like, Joe, just leave it alone. We're okay. It can't move.
Don't go in that house. It just yelled, get out at you.
Oh, I know. It's just, yeah. I mean, there's so many. I think horror movies have good lessons, and so many people don't learn from it because they're let's be honest, they're too ignorant. I mean, think about it. How many times has things happened in this world because somebody opens Pandora's box because they think they're too smart, and they think they're too good, and think they can control.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously, right?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
it's just part of human. It's part of human nature.
It is.
And I mean, the amount of creepy stuff that happens to people is pretty minimal, so you get complacent.
Well, perfect example. Another one. Hellraiser. What a great movie.
Oh yeah, that's a good
So
one.
based on human curiosity or human egotism, egotistic, whatever. The point is, your ego is so big that you're going to go out there and mess with something you should not touch. So if something's in the Antarctic and there's something crazy going on because you have an astronaut, a hero astronaut, coming back saying, it's evil, leave it alone. Don't touch it. Don't poke the bear. Leave it alone.
No.
So,
Oh boy.
anyhow. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Anyhow, so I think we'll end at this because the Antarctic, there's a lot going on. Who knows for sure? Not us, not the general public. Not being conspiracy theory, we're just saying. They're not telling us maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. But I don't know. Maybe someday we'll find out.
Yeah, and with that, I will let you lovely listeners be free to go about your day and shake your heads at our shenanigans on today's show.
Shenanigans.
Please like us Leave comments. We love hearing from you, good or bad. We like opinions, good and bad, because everybody has opinions and they're always interesting. So always give us your opinion. You can like us at Shadow Talkers on Twitter. And until next time, explore the shadows.